guess what, y'all? I am back. I am back. I am back. Thank you so much for joining us. I am so glad to be here. I just want to make sure I can see everybody's chat. All right. Just so everybody is aware, tonight we're going to be flying solo because Miss Miss Jenny has other arrangements or other commitments that she has to deal with tonight. So you guys are just stuck with me. And per usual, as I started to roll out last time I was on, I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to come up if you so choose. I'm going to leave the link. So once we get a little bit into the show and I open the floor up, I'm going to leave a link. It'll be stuck at the top, kind of where the poll is now. And you'll be able to click on the link, come on to the show. If you have any issues, just go ahead and ask the question in the chat box and we will get that resolved. Okay. So I want to give a big shout out to Lizzie B. I see she's in the house. Also, I think J Baby's here. Kathy Foran in the house, Lynn Skinner, all the folks here, Danny Towns. Okay, going down the list. I see a lot of folks. Mama Squirrel in the place to be. What's up? What's up? What's up? Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm very excited to talk about this last chapter of Becoming Sister Wives. If you guys want to talk about anything else with regard to the book, or I'll also open it up if you want to talk about the trailer. I have a couple videos that I'm doing it for the trailer. I'm going to be very honest with you. I shot a video before I left, and because I was away with the family, that's why I was out. But I shot the video, and the video actually came out, and it was pretty long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it up into 3 individual videos talking about the trailer specifically, because I don't want to just run through like, oh, in the trailer, they said blah, blah, blah. And then Mary said blah, blah, blah. And then Cody comes back with his ridiculousness. And I want to get into the brass tacks. I want to get into the gravy. I want to get past the gravy down to the meat of the subject. And so we can have that conversation as well. Okay. Lizzie B, hold us down tonight. Thank you, Kathy. So, hey, what's going on, Lisa Owen? Before we get started, I just want to make sure everybody can hear me, that I'm actually coming through. Go ahead, give me a 1 in the chat to let me know that you guys can see me, you can hear me, everything sounds good, everything is fine, and we can get this, we can light the fires, kick the tires, and get this show on the road, Jack. So if I haven't seen any ones, okay, I see some ones populating. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. Flying chocolate in the house. What's up? Okay, so yeah, I see some ones. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I just want to make sure that because like I don't know if you guys are aware, it was a couple weeks ago. I was doing a show with Sarah from Reality Squad, and we were having a full-blown conversation. We were in the show, we were telling jokes, it was funny, it was fun, and we were not online. And it was like the funniest, saddest situation ever. So I just didn't want to have a repeat of that. Okay. OCG tax. Thank you so much. Everything's good. Cool beans. Cool beans. So we've gone through this book and we've talked about it and discussed it. And, we've heard from Mary, Christine, Janelle, Robyn. And the only time we really heard from Cody was actually during the first few chapters of Marriage or Matrimony, where they were talking about how the wives came into the family and how the family was formed. And Cody could give his little back and forth or add his 2 cents to the situation. Now, we started talking about family. Cody's voice was absent. We started talking about celebrity. Cody's voice was absent. So he's given this epilogue portion of this book, and he did exactly what I thought he was going to do. I had always taken a position that Cody could have made this an epic wrap-up if he considered other people. But I can see a universe where Cody actually felt slighted because They were asking for these ladies' opinions, and he couldn't give his own opinion or give his perspective on what it is they were talking about. So he used the epilogue portion of the book to try to cover all that ground. And to be honest with you, from my respects, as far as like reading the book and you know understanding how stories are told, etc., etc., I don't think that Cody served himself well in this particular chapter. And it's not just a shot at Cody just to be mean to Cody because Cody's Cody, but it's just that I think that he dropped the ball with an opportunity where he could have given some perspective or insight as to the larger family. And what I see in a lot of this particular chapter was Cody was doing a lot of the oppression Olympics stuff, where he was talking about how polygamists are misunderstood and how he's going to be the one to save the group and so on and so forth. One of the first things that I pull up as we talk about the book was actually in the first paragraph of the epilogue that Cody wrote, where he says, in the very, very first thing he says, when we decided to tell our story, I figured that the benefits would outweigh the risks. I wanted to make the world a better place, not just for my family, but for polygamists worldwide. I wanted to show the public how wonderfully stable, loving, and caring my family is. I thought we might pave the way for a safer and more tolerant future for our community. Now, when I read that, that screamed, that screamed the idea that he has an overblown, over important sense of self. Like he looks at himself and says, and thinks that I am going to be the one to bring understanding. I'm the spokesperson for all polygamy. I'm somehow qualified to be able to do this because I have this opportunity. And the truth of the matter is that if you listen to what, especially now that the charade has has fallen away, that and everybody's starting to tell the truth. They were struggling as a family before they met Robyn. They were struggling. They kind of fallen. Even Cody, he talks about like, oh, we before Robyn comes into the family, we kind of fell into like a rut where we were just kind of getting along, but things weren't really being discussed. They were struggling as a family. And being as though you're struggling as a family, that might not be the ideal person to bring forward as the spokesperson for this supposed oppressed group. Now, I understand you might want to be honest about certain circumstances in your situation. You may want to be in a point where you say, I'm human just like you. I make mistakes just like you. But if you are trying to uh, dissuade people or discourage people's prejudice or their ideas that things aren't working out the way they should and we are misjudged and all that, you don't get a family who is struggling to stay together to represent how good it is when these families formulate with each other, because the problems that were revealed and the struggles that they had go a long way in line with a lot of the perspectives that many of us had with regard to polygamy in the first place. Wives feeling neglected, children being neglected, you not being able to share your time, energy, space with a multitude of people in an equitable form and fashion. What happened was the show essentially proved everything that everybody ever thought about polygamy. All the negative thoughts that they had about polygamy, this show actually demonstrated that this is what happens when if this is your best, I'll restate, if this is your best, if this is your example, then your example proves the point. It proves the point. Because if you can look at you by season 17, 18, season 18, you can look into the camera and say, I never loved these women. I never wanted to be with them. The only person I ever loved was Robyn, my fourth wife, my last wife. That's the only one I ever loved. The rest of them just convenience. And I did it because that's what the religion said. that's not a strong case for you to be the spokesperson for this religion. I also think that there's a point where, um, that's an interesting point, Flying Chunkla. Uh, just to close that out, but there's uh there's also a point where when he says that he wants to be the spokesperson, to me that speaks not only because we're looking at it, or typically I say I was looking at it from initially from the when I first heard it from the perspective of I want to be the spokesperson for polygamy, and that will make me a leader in the mainstream world as far as polygamy is concerned. But if we look at the broader world, that would also make him a leader, or at least a figurehead leader of his religious faith, that would propagate him in his religion, in his religious beliefs, in his religious community. Why? Because he's the go-to guy. You may have people who are running an organization, but I can think of at least several organizations, political organizations, where this occurs, or even business organizations where this occurs, where you have the person who actually runs the company, and then you have the face of the company or organization. And then when you have the face, people assume that the person whose face they're familiar with is the company. So what happens is that person's power is increased because when you think of X, Y, and Z widgets company, you think of this person, not the actual person who runs it, or the people who run it, or the people who are in charge. You think of this one person. So that person has a lot of power. And what Cody was doing was he was gathering a lot of power in this particular situation. But let's go to what Flying Chankla said. I only got to read briefly what she had said, so I just wanted to see what it was. Flying Chankla, uh, maybe they didn't realize it as struggling. Possibly they thought that was just the way life was for polygamists, and only recognized it as struggling when their point of view changed. That's possible. That's possible. But I would say that when your relationships aren't going well, you know that it's not going good. And I think that there is another part of it, because we can't ignore the realities that um being on the show provided to each one of the family members. There, if you because the question would always be, and thank you for your perspective. I do appreciate that, and I see where you're coming from. But I would just simply say, where's my okay? I would just simply say that, when you are kind of struggling along to make things happen, and somebody presents you an opportunity to do some big things and maybe put you in a position that you weren't in before, you're willing to do what you need to do to keep that thing going. Like, for instance, there's no reason when if you were so committed that when Cody and the family, even the OG3, as well as Robyn, when they were on the show and the family started falling apart, there was a point where they could have said, you know what? What's more important? This show, being on this show, having the fame and the money, or keeping our family together? Now, had they chose to keep their family together, there's a possibility they could have pulled out of the show, recalibrated the family, and been able to maintain their family. Maybe for better or for worse, but that would have been a possibility. But by making the decision to stay on the show, they doomed their family. There was no way their family was going to survive it. And to be honest with you, this isn't just a shot at Cody and OG3 as well as Robyn. I think this is from most relationships. If you put any relationship under the strain and stress of constant observation, or people looking at your situation the entire time, then you're there's a very strong possibility that your relationship is going to crumble. Because anytime you have an argument, your arguments will actually be in, I think, three tiers. You have the initial argument that's filmed, the initial argument, disagreement that's filmed. Then you have the people will see the argument and have just, opinions on that argument. So you have to relive that argument again. Then when you do the recap or the tell all, you're going to have to deal with that argument again. So at least three times for every one argument that you have, one big blowout argument you have, you're going to have to deal with it at least three times in three separate occasions. And there's a possibility, like there's some things that we talk about on Sister Wives, like the surgery with Isabel, her surgery, Cody's position on COVID, them moving from Utah to Las Vegas, and then from Las Vegas to Arizona, all these things, and the dress, who picked the dress? I picked the dress. Like all these discussions are things that we look at and say, yeah, we still talk about these things today. Some of these things happened like 15 years ago. Okay. And we still like, I remember when that. So when you're on these shows, you're dooming your relationship. That's why I've always taken a position that if somebody came to me and said, TLC showed up to me tomorrow and said, James, I want to film you in your household. No, no, because my family is too important to me to put on display, to have it ripped apart and then discussed. And then I lose my family. A couple dollars and opportunities that would provide just wouldn't be worth it to me. But, to each his own. Let's see. Danny Towns in the house. Cody never thought they would leave him no matter how he treated them. This is absolutely true. He is absolutely baffled and floored because he figured due to their naivety and culture, they weren't going anywhere. Look at his dad. And I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. Like, I think that there is an arrogance that was sown into the process where he looked at it, and I don't think that he thought that they would leave. But I think that he thought that he could treat them however he wanted to treat them, separate himself from them, but they would still maintain the orbit to him, as well as the financial continuing to contribute financially to him, as the family, in perpetuity. So until the day they died, they were supposed to be, kicking money anytime he wanted to do something because he's the head of the household, he's in charge of the money. That's the way things are, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't dispute that at all. Like, I think that's the biggest struggle. Why did they leave? I don't understand why they left. I don't get it. What did I do wrong? Like, I don't think he will ever understand because he doesn't. And part of that, and I don't want to get too far afield, and I don't want to be an asshole about it. Pardon my French, but part of that too is that if I really call a spade and call it what it is, I don't think he respects them. And I think that that's a big problem. That's the first part of that, is that if you respect your partner as your partner and you see them as a fully functional, autonomous individual, they can make their own decisions. Okay. Their happiness doesn't rely on you. They can go out and live their life. And if they leave you, you are not their life support system. And they can walk out the door, they will live, they could be happy, they could find somebody else and express that happiness for the rest of their lives. If you understand that and you respect their position in that, then it encourages you to continue giving them reasons to stay. But if you don't respect that person and you don't see that, there's no way they're leaving me. Because if they leave, what are they going to do? Who's going to want them? And this is some things that we've heard him say, echoed from some of the things that he said even during the tell-all. Oh, well, if David or some other guy finds out that she left a good man, then they're not going to want her. Because that would automatically mean that Cody's a good man. And if she abandoned him, and because she abandoned him, she's no longer deserving of happiness because you left me. So therefore, you're not deserving of happiness. If you respect somebody and you respect them as individuals, you respect them as people, then you understand that they can leave and find happiness. They can leave and find somebody comparable to you, and let's be real, in some cases find somebody better than you. You know what I mean? Your wife can go out of the door tomorrow and find a man to do everything that she want him to do and do it better and more efficiently and without having to be prompted or asked to do it. That's not a thing. Like, that's not a problem. So you're always encouraged to try to keep and maintain these relationships for yourself. And I think that that's kind of where Cody was. Like, he wasn't trying to maintain those relationships, which is why he struggles with the fact that they did leave. I can't believe they left. How could they leave? That's not a real thing. So I think that's kind of where he was. But I agree, Danny. Oh, there was a. I want to run through some of the book real quick so we can get to you guys, and you guys can come up and we can start talking about some of the other stuff as well. If you guys also want to go back through any points of the chapters that both Jenny and I covered, and I didn't open up the floor, you're more than welcome to come in and have those conversations as well. What is this? Oh, so like I said, that was like he did the whole thing of his part of Celebrity was basically how he decided to do the show and the moving to Vegas and some of the things like he tries to rehash some of the events that occurred after happened in the first two seasons. So they moved to Vegas. He gets married. He moves to Vegas, etc., etc. One of the things that he said that really struck me was this. He said, in the third paragraph in epilogue, he says, our move to Las Vegas changed my life irrevocably. I felt an overwhelming peace and tranquility with our arrival. I felt as if we had moved to a world of opportunity. To put it simply, I felt safe. But although I felt a new spiritual peace, we had sacrificed so much from our lives in Utah. The transition was for the best, but it was still difficult. Janelle and I left thriving careers. Janelle left a thriving career. That's my feeling. Janelle left a thriving career. Cody he couldn't wait to be out looking for something better. We had all moved away from the fellowship of our church and our dearest friends. We left behind the most wonderful home our family had ever lived in and one of the safest communities in the country. Our children had done the same without sharing their parents' understanding about why. I was shell shocked from the stress of our lives during the 60 days before our move. During the move, I felt deeply bitter about the whole experience of becoming a public polygamist. Frankly, my own tolerance and open mindedness meant that I was naive about the publicly, living publicly would affect us as a family, about how living publicly would affect us as a family. When I read that, there is an something struck me. There is an old African proverb which reads, when there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. And one of the things that really struck me is that Cody talks about moving to Las Vegas and never finding peace until he moved to Las Vegas. But then once he is in Las Vegas, they bought the homes, they had settled in Las Vegas, they were living in that little cul-de-sac and everything seemed to be moving along. Then all of a sudden he wants to move to Arizona because Las Vegas is no longer any good. When that happened, we discovered that Cody and the family had been moving constantly since they got together, since the family was formed. They had moved, bantered back and forth between Wyoming to Utah to, different places. The family has moved to different cities and different places. In fact, the one place that they did stay the longest, to my understanding, was that home in Utah. And I, coming into the show, had thought they had been in that home since the kids were little. But the truth of it is that they'd only been in that home for about 6 years prior to moving out to Vegas. And when you can't find peace in yourself, that enemy within, when you can't, when you have that enemy within, which is, you always feel like you're never good enough, or there's always something else out there. This is kind of when we talk about polygamy, the grass is always greener on the other side. I wonder what it's like in her bed. When you're always looking outside to find that next thing or that next thing that's going to make you happy, then it's very difficult for you to settle your spirit. And because you have a spirit that's unsatisfied, you're always going to be looking. You're always going to be running. You're always going to be trying to find a new thing, the shiny thing, the thing that'll make you happy. And if I get this, or I get this job, or I get with this person, then my whole life is going to be made and it's going to be so awesome and amazing, you know. But none of it is real until you find peace in yourself. I've always said, and I've always held out that you can't be in a relationship with somebody and be happy if you can't be by yourself. If you can't enjoy your own company and you can't find peace and happiness within yourself, you inviting company to living your misery is not going to enhance your life. It's not going to make your life better or easier. If anything, you're just making somebody else's life harder. You have to be able to find peace in yourself. You have to be comfortable with yourself before you go out and try to find somebody else and link up and couple off with somebody else. And if you aren't happy with where you are and what it is you're doing, you can't find that contentment, the happiness, and coming home and seeing your family and your kids and being happy with the life that you do have because you're always looking for that next thing, then you're never going to be happy. They move to Arizona, they'll be there for a few years. Then all of a sudden, he'll be talking about moving out of Arizona because Arizona isn't good enough. It's not safe enough. There's more opportunities there or this other place. And this isn't even a point of like you learning to settle. It's just you having peace of mind to know that you can be still. There's grace and stillness. You don't always have to. One of the things that's annoying, like if you see people who are new to relationships or uncomfortable in relationships, they always feel like they have to fill space. So they always have to talk, or they always have to have something going on, or they always have to say something. They can't just sit and be themselves and be still. Sometimes you have to learn how to be still because that gives you the perspective to be able to see your next move. That if there are opportunities that you want to take advantage of, you have that peace and that peace of mind to where you can clearly see what the opportunities are so that you can take advantage of them. If you're busy, always trying to jump to the next thing, or I'll get a job and I'm making, $16 at this job, and then I'm gonna go get another job and I'm gonna make 16.25, and I'm gonna leave that job and I'm only there for 6 months before I find another job that might pay me 16.35, and I leave that job, then you never give yourself an opportunity to be able to grow and develop within the position that you have. And you never give yourself a time to settle down and say, instead of me rushing off to go get this thing where I'm gonna get a dime or a nickel, why don't I gather some information, some knowledge, some know-how, some experience, build a resume, and then go and get that for instead of going up, 25, 35 cents, why don't I go up $1, $3, $4? These are the kind of things that I think about with regard to that. This is flying chocolate. Yes, LOL. I work too hard to have a peaceful life in my family. No reality show here either. I agree with that. Like, cause that's one of the things. Like my mom, uh, she told me when I was a kid, one of the big things in my household was always the one place you should always be able to find peace is at home. The one place you should always be able to go, rest your head, leave your swords at the door, take your armor off, and be yourself and be completely relaxed is home. That's why home is so important. Is that you have to have that place to be able to recover, be able to sit down, find that peace, find your center, find your happiness, find your joy, so that you have the strength and dexterity to be able to walk out the door the next day and deal with the world on the world's terms, because the world is a cold, cruel place. So you have to have a place where you can refresh yourself. And that's what home is. And if you have like a reality show camera standing in your house, they aren't looking for those peaceful moments. They're looking for the times of discord and the times of conflict, because that makes the show. you know, so you could be getting along with your wife perfectly fine. You know, 364 days in a year. The one day y'all have a big blowout argument, that'll be the day, that'll be the trailer to the show. Watch how he talks to her. This is ridiculous, you know. So yeah, I'm not so I would, I strongly recommend against it. Clearly I'll watch the shows and I'll comment on the shows. If you willing to put your business out there, I'm willing to talk about your business. But like I've said before, at least on this channel, if you don't want to be on the show, like for instance, if Cody came off the show, I'd probably stop talking about Cody. I would talk about maybe the previous stuff or the histories or histrionics as far as how he relates to the people who are still on the show. But I wouldn't go out and try to find out what Cody's doing. If you notice, I haven't done that with any of the kids. Like any of the kids who aren't on the show, who make an effort not to be in the public spotlight, I don't talk about them at all. I don't talk about them at all because I give them that respect. If you don't want people in your business, I'm not the one to jump into your business. But if you want to be on TV, that's the cost of being on TV. Cody and Robyn, when you guys sit there and say it's not fair that people comment on us and all the things we have to do, that's what you're getting a check for. That's why you're getting a check. So welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. Let's see. Danny Towns. Oh, you're 100% right on that. As a male chauvinist, he can't see their value without him. He is their value according to him. Yeah, I agree with that. Remembering this last season with his six-pack and his resources. He's after me for my six-pack and washboard abs. She wants to feel my pectoral muscles. He's using me for my resources. And meanwhile, he's crying because they're taking their money and going off. They're taking their money. That's the crazy. Daddy, you got me on. I'm gonna have to go a little bit of a tangent, but Daddy hit the damn nail on the head. Because right there, one of the craziest things about watching Cody is that he's the guy who's sitting there arguing with people about their stuff. Like he's arguing with Mary. Yeah, you contributed to County Pass. You put a lot of money in, but I'm only going to give you 2 acres of the many acres that you've contributed money to. And here's the thing. She may not have, maybe the money wasn't rubber stamped for Coyote Pass. Janelle the same way. The money wasn't rubber stamped for Coyote Pass. But you know that they gave a significant amount of money to you so that you could take and purchase the home that Robyn is living in. The home that you share with Robyn. So when we say the home that Robyn's living in, let's be very clear. For Cody and Robyn's house, they paid for Cody and Robyn's house, the down payment for that house. They paid for that. And they paid money down on Coyote Pass. So unless you want to sell your house and give them their money back to make them whole so that you can keep a majority of Coyote Pass, you may want to give them more Coyote Pass so they leave your house alone. That's just my thing. And so I don't understand how you're going to sit there and argue with them about their stuff. You gave me $100 and now you want $100 worth of stuff? That's ridiculous. Yeah, I'm just, it baffles my mind. It baffles my mind. Yeah, I'm gonna just rip through some of this other stuff that I had with regard to the chapter. Like I said, this chapter was light as hell. I thought the best chapter in the book, the best chapter in the book to me, with regard to following the assignment of what the chapter was actually about, was actually Christine's chapter on celebrity, where she talked about in depth about how the family came to be on the show. And I think that Christine could give that perspective because she is the reason that they were on the show. So she had ample room to discuss it with the other wives and even with Cody. They didn't necessarily have that input. I do appreciate some of the perspectives that Mary, Janelle, and even Robyn to some degree that they had with regard to how they came into the family, because I think it filled in a lot of gaps of information that was missing or even on the show. But with Robyn and Cody's portion, even sometimes with Mary's portion, there's a lot of covering that's going on in the book. Like I feel like the book was filling in gaps of plot holes that were left by the show. But I also feel like um I also feel like they were trying to cover for each other because this is early on, what Cody called the cloak of charity that is offered for offered by married people. I think that Christine, Janelle, especially Mary, was given, oh, they were covering them with the cloak of charity. 262. Oh, my favorite part of Cody's little explanation. Why did we leave Utah? I'm a husband and a father first. And as a parent, my first responsibility is to keep the family safe. Our simply our simple world in the sleepy town of Lehigh, Utah, became very volatile in the fall of 2010 due to the investigation and the stresses of our family becoming public polygamist. We no longer felt that our family was safe. By the beginning of December, all five parents agreed that our family would be better off in Las Vegas. By Christmas time, we had told the older children. And we watched a lot of that. That was season 2. Or actually season 1. So they started rounding out. No, it was season 2. Because by the time they got finished rounding out of season 2, they were already in Vegas by season 2. So this is early on the day it moved out to Vegas. But with that being said, you know, one of the things that really stuck out to me was, again, like the importance of being a husband and a father. Part of being a husband and a father, protector and a provider and all that good stuff, is recognizing things that could be damaging to your family. And the very nature of being on this type of show is damaging to your family. And recognizing once you move to Lehigh or moved out of Lehigh, moved to Vegas, talking about Cody talks about how the kids suffered, and I won't go through all the suffering of the children because I don't like to detail a lot of that. And we've seen it on the show. But he talked about how the kids suffered and they were under a lot tremendous stress by leaving their friends and the way they left their friends and for the reasons that they were leaving their friends. And as a father, that had to have been taken into consideration. When you consider being on the show, when you consider continuing the show, you have to recognize that if he would have stopped doing Sister Wives and dropped out of it altogether, Lehigh would have backed off and left him alone. Their investigations would have stopped. And technically, even though they're investigating and they have all the information that they need as far as prosecuting you for being a polygamist, you were on TV admitting it. All that is admissible in court. If you get on TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Insta, whatever, and you admit to a crime, those are comments or statements against interest, and they're completely admissible in court. It's not hearsay. It's not, we need the whole tape. Look, you said, is this you? Yes. Did you say this? Yes. Exhibit 1, exhibit A. And off you go to the pokey poke. If they were interested in prosecuting them for being polygamous, the case was closed. There wasn't a whole lot of meat they had to put on the bones as far as that was concerned. That case was already wrapped up. So there was no interest in prosecuting him for that. I think that, again, that just falls into the line of it was a storyline. I think that there was a lot of more opportunity for them to move to Vegas, in the sense that if they move to Vegas, again, that places Cody in a position where he could be the leader of that particular church sect organization in that region, because there isn't anybody else. And he would have been the figurehead or the spokesperson for not only for polygamy as a alternative lifestyle, but he also would have been the spokesperson of that religion in that area. He would have, by default, he would have become a spiritual leader within that organization had things worked out a little differently for him. So I think that was part of what was going on. Can't prove it either way, but that's just my feeling on it. On 266, he talked about the rejection of Robyn. Um, Early on, they said that they try to hold out that, and this is again where some of the retelling of the saga, the sister wife, the Brown family saga started happening. It had started occurring early because they wanted to define the relationships as everybody is excited about Robyn coming into the family. Everybody wanted Robyn in the family. Then all of a sudden, those women changed. They were all excited about it, and then they changed their mind. It wasn't Robyn's fault. Robyn didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't the fact that she was younger and Cody found her more attractive, and he was attracted to her and all that, and she was bringing in kids because they knew all that. But it was because they changed their minds, and there was something wrong with them. It's a deficiency in them. But this is actually found on. I'll start on 265. Robyn and I had been courting for about 2 months when we got engaged. But they also talked about later on. He talks about, oh yeah, long engagement really works. They'd only been dating for about 2 months and they get engaged. Yeah, that's no time to get to know somebody. She had been received by Mary, Janelle, and Christine with open hearts and open arms. Within a month of our engagement, however, everybody started to struggle with the emotional adjustments of the courtship. Not the fact that Robyn was in. See, even that's like tricky dicky shit. Like the fact he said that they struggle with the courtship. They struggle with her. They struggle with the notion of her. Not the fact you were dating her and you hadn't married her yet. They struggled with her. But he couldn't say that. He said they struggled with the courtship. So they didn't struggle with Robyn. They struggled with the fact that he was dating Robyn. Robyn quickly realized that we had been avoiding many of our problems. In my pride, I had rejected the idea of any form of marriage counseling. So Robyn apparently realized that there was a problem and the family was all maladjusted. And Cody decided that he would never go see a therapist to try to work things out. But didn't they say they were already seeing a therapist? The one young lady with the dark hair, they've been seeing her for years, according to Cody. So that didn't make any sense. So I mean, that's just an inconsistency. I don't know which side is lying. Maybe he didn't. He started seeing her after the show started, or whatever, which would have been after he married Robyn. But there's an inconsistency. Um, he goes on to say, "We did not know how to validate each other's feelings." I didn't know how to validate them because I didn't see them as people, just merely cattle or chattel or things to be used and discarded. But that's he didn't say that, but that's kind of the way I'm reading it. We were hiding our problems in career pursuits and other outward efforts. Christine didn't have a career pursuit. According to you, only two people who had career pursuits were you, supposedly, and Janelle, because you guys had these flourishing careers. Mary obviously had interest in the job that she was doing, but he does. I don't think he's classifying her as a career pursuit person who's pursuing a career. So he's basically saying they had other distractions, which I can kind of see. In our marriages and the sister wives relationships, we had started to settle for less than our best. So it wasn't the best relationship. It wasn't a good relationship. It was just a relationship they settled on. So again, this is that early part where I say that when people have said before that, oh, he loved them and he was so in love with them and it was Robyn who ruined everything. I think that in his mind, he had always settled for them. He had always settled for them. And when you settle for something that you don't necessarily want or someone you don't necessarily want to be with, there's two prongs on that. The first prong is the person who is struggling with you seems like they're getting what they want because you're making their dreams come true because you choose to be with them. The downside is that that's not the person you want to be with. So the first time you have a chance or opportunity to exit that relationship, you're going to take it. You're going to take it because you're not happy in that relationship. I think that with especially the way he talks about it, and from what I saw, and his quick jump onto just the Robyn train, the solo Robyn train, as opposed to trying to drag the family along with him, that it wasn't necessarily. I don't think that he hated them. I don't think it was that deep. I just don't think that he was as infatuated with the first three wives. Mary was an opportunity for him to be able to live a polygamous lifestyle. So she was the gatekeeper. Then you have Janelle who comes in. She's the second wife. Oh, I can do this thing. Now I have permission to do this thing. I'm doing this thing, y'all. With Christine, she was an opportunity because she is a person who could tie him into the leadership of the church, and which goes along the lines of him being a church leader or a spokesperson of sorts. And then when he finally meets Robyn, Robyn is the type of woman that he's attracted to. Now, this also goes to the idea that some people will say, but James, Robyn is no good. She's a horrible person, or whatever the case may be, whatever people say. And why would he leave these three good women for this one? Because guys do that shit all the time. Guys do that. Women do that all the time, too. They leave a perfectly good dude, a dude who will fight and die and whatever for them. He'll get a shirt off their back, leave him for the dude that don't even know their name. They can't even say their name right 3 times in a row. Men do that all the time. They have a wife or a woman that's with them and has been committed to them, and they go meet somebody and, ooh, shiny shit. And they leave the person that they were committed to go be with this other person who they just think they can swap out for the wife that they had. Oh, a new shiny wife. And I'm going to get this new wife, and she's going to do everything my old wife was doing. But that's not how people work. And that it takes a certain level of maturity to recognize that being married to Christine, who does the kids and is heavily involved with the kids and involved with the children and keeping the family together and keeping the dates and birth dates and holidays and activities and events and things in order. And that's what she does. She likes staying at home. You say, okay, I'm going to switch her out and get this new hot wife who also wants to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom. The two approaches of those two women is going to be completely different because they're two completely different individuals, and I'm sure we all understand it. I just want to state that as my point to get that to get that right there. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of where Cody was. Let me post. I'm gonna take a pause here. If you guys are interested in joining the chat or joining the conversation, I'm gonna see if that did not let me do it. Hold up. I'm gonna post the link, and you will be able to join. I'm posted it as a question, and that'll be there. Okay, start Q&A. So if you go to the question, it'll be at the top. You just hit the link, and you can come up, and then when we're ready to join, I'll link you guys in, and we can get it popping. Wait, what does this say? So, all right. So back to the grind. All right. So they have like the whole idea of the rejection of Robyn. All of a sudden, they're not rejecting Robyn; they're rejecting the idea of Robyn. And again, this isn't a rejection of Robyn, because one of the funniest things about polygamy, if we really take a step back from it and look at the whole situation, especially with the whole idea of the polygamy propaganda program. Okay, Daisy. Come on up. One of the things that really strikes me is that as we talk about the show and the polygamy propaganda part of this program, when we talk about the show, they say if I go out and I try to find a wife and I get another wife, if the other women are jealous or upset or they have certain feelings about me getting another wife, then that's their fault. And not only is it their fault, but that's their failing. They turned these women's natural emotional reactions to being mistreated, demoted to second class partners in this relationship to being you're not a victim of the mistreatment or institution of polygamy. Rather, you're at fault because you don't know how to control your own feelings. You can't control your emotions. So when I do this and you say you're jealous, you failed. When I go out and I'm spending a night at another woman's house and you feel a certain kind of way about that, you feel about that negatively because you're failing in your walk in faith. It's not my shortness of character or morality or anything like that. It's your failure. And that's one of the keys that I'm sure was discussed when the wives welcomed Robyn with open arms. And I guess by open arms, he means that they weren't complaining about her 100% of the time, all the time when she came into the family. But once she came into the family, all of a sudden it's a problem. Uh Next he talked about like finding a business. Like we can go through that. Like it's like the whole finding a business. I want to find a business that we could all work together and everything will be great. And he said they settled on health and fitness as a as the business. What he's talking about is the multi-level marketing business that they had all settled into and they started to strive into. That's what that is about. So you have that. Finally, he has a portion in here where he talks about, and this will be the last thing I say about the book, and then I'm gonna open up the floor. So if you guys want to come up, you are more than welcome. Just hit the link. You'll come up into the back area. You won't be on just by hitting the link. You won't be in the you won't be on screen yet until I add you to the show. So please be patient. You'll be in the green room, as it were, getting ready backstage, getting ready to come up. But the struggles that he described for being a polygamist, and this is something that he's consistently done. Anytime they talk about being a polygamist, they always use the example of it's just like being a monogamist, except for there's more people involved. But then they talk about monogamy or talk to monogamists about polygamists, and they say you have no idea what it's like to be a polygamist because you're simply a monogamist. But you yourself said it's just like being a monogamist. But this is one of those examples. He says on page 268, final paragraph. I'm sure that there are millions of people in the world who misinterpret what I do as hedonistic and selfish. My response is every day I work my tail off for the family. Every day I manage four separate marriages, four entirely different relationships, four distinct personalities. I'm not doing this for fun and games, beer and Skittles. I'm doing this because it is my calling. I'm doing it because it is my faith. I do it for love. Before anyone thinks that polygamy is easy or uncomplicated, I urge them to consider how much work a single marriage takes and then multiply that times four. Oh, oh. And then he goes on some more bullshit, but and it closes out with the next paragraph. Uh the whole thing with that is trippy as hell to me because he says that we're nothing like polygamists, but or monogamous, but we're just like monogamous. And if you think it's hard to operate with one marriage, try doing it times four. And to that, I simply say, you don't. This is again a commentary on the struggle Olympics. You don't get medals for how much you struggle in life. If you make your life harder than it has to be, Nobody comes along and pats you on the head and put a star on your forehead because you made your life harder. If you want to go out and try to start and maintain several marriages, that's your fault. You did that to yourself. Nobody said that this is a great idea. This is what you need to do with your life. You need to go out and get 50 wives so that way you have a more complicated life and a way shorter life expectancy, because having a bunch of wives is going to surely kill you. So that shit should come with a Surgeon General warning. Like, it should be on the pack, like a pack of cigarettes. Like, having more than one wife will cause emotional stress, could cause infertility, erectile dysfunction, you know, all kinds of problems. You may go insane, and you probably will be broke from divorce. You know what I mean? But nobody said you had to have multiple wives. And as monogamous, the funny thing is, there's always, and maybe this is just my personal sensitivities, and you guys can let me know if I'm reading this wrong. But just from my perspective, they always try to talk to, the polygamous folks. They always try to talk to monogamists like we don't understand how difficult polygamy is. The problem that they have is, I do understand how difficult polygamy is. I do understand that trying to maintain several relationships at the same time is incredibly difficult. And it could create heartbreak. It can create neglect. It can create an environment where not only are your kids not having their needs met, but your partners aren't having their needs met, and it can cause resentment. It can ultimately lead to the destruction of your family. I understand that. This is part of the reason why I am not a polygamist. It's not that I think that I don't understand what can happen. It's that I do understand what can happen, which is why I stay away from it. It's really not that deep for me. Like, I mean, do I think I could go out and find a bunch of women and convince them? I mean, it's possible. There's a bunch of people out there who are open to anything. Anything that's in your mind that you have, like whatever your freaking link is, there's somebody out there for you. If you want to have a relationship where you date a guy and he dates four other women, you could find that. If you're a man, you want to date a woman and marry a woman and have four other women, and she help you pick those women up and date those women, you could find that. You can find relationships where the relationship is completely open. You can find relationships where you're almost living like celibate nuns or monks on a castle somewhere. You don't even touch each other. You can find those relationships too. It's all out there in the world. You just have to be open to go out there and try to pursue it. So it's not that I don't understand what it is or what it would take to be involved with it. I just don't think that it's. I struggle to see how it's possible. But even if it is possible, I think that it's one of those things that even if you thought you had a handle on it, where you thought you could do it, there's always a possibility that you could mess it up. And the possibility that you could mess it up, for me, would outweigh the possibility of success. Like, if everything went well, then I would get this much. But if I mess up and I do it the wrong way, or I applied the wrong way, I picked the wrong partner, or I myself am not prepared to actually participate in this wholly and completely and properly, then the destruction and damage that I can cause to other human beings, the chance of that far outweighs any benefit that I would receive if I was successful, which is why I would struggle with the idea or notion of participating in polygamy. And that's where I'm at. But again, I am going to open things up. But before I do, let me give a big shout out to Lynn Skinner with the super sticker. Teresa Skinner. I don't know what I'm talking about. Teresa Skinner in the house with the super sticker. In fact, I'm gonna give it to you twice. Teresa, first one out of the box. I'm gonna give you the very subtle. And because it's you, Teresa, thank you so much, Teresa. You're awesome. But yeah, if anybody would like to join, I am posting the I'll post the link here in the comment section. So just hit that link and I will bring you up and we can have the conversation. So overall, what are my thoughts on becoming sister wives? Again, I thought that the book itself was interesting from the respect that it fills in a lot of gaps as to what was occurring. I think it's valuable, not because necessarily because of the information that it provides on its face, but because it gives the sister wives as well as Cody an opportunity to present their case and their perspective on the way things were working out and what happened in their relationships from their perspective, unfettered. Because again, I'm stuck on this whole thing where I've seen not only Cody but other reality personalities come out and say, "Oh, it's not fair the way people are treating me because of the edits, and we get such a bad edit, and the companies do it, and they make me look bad." With YouTube out there, Twitter, Facebook, Insta, etc., 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 and the fact that you had a book that you were able to express yourself your way, the way you wanted to express yourself, say the things that you want to say, how you want to say it, the way you want to say it, and present it the way you want to present it. The fact that they did that, I think that, and a lot of what they presented, I'll just take that next step. A lot of what they presented is very consistent with a lot of what the fan base, as well as other YouTubers, including myself, have said about the show. In some of our assessments and analysis of what's going on in these relationships and how these relationships are um are not positive healthy relationships, and if I was in this relationship, or if my one of my kids or friends or family or somebody was in one of these relationships, some of the positions that I would take is very consistent with a lot of things that I say, and what he's saying in the book doesn't take away from any of that. What they say in the book doesn't take away from any of that. If anything, when I read the book and he says, "Well, you don't really understand me because you watch the shows," but when I go back and read the book, then I should be saying, from my reaction of reading your words in a book, I should say, "You know what? You're absolutely right. I totally got that wrong." But when I can read your book and I say, "I totally disagree with what you have to say. We were 100% on point." we we came out and said that this does not work. We're 100% right. That's what I got from the book. So I think from that respect, that was the positive from the book. Kathy Ferran, blame yourself, Cody, if I don't love you. It's all your fault. And if you, again, if you don't want to play, you don't have to play. Don't feel compelled. Oh, Lynn Skinner in the house. Thanks for reading this book, so I didn't have to. For that not super chat. You're welcome, Lynn Skinner. It's interesting and it puts things into some perspective. But I feel you, Lynn. I feel you. And I'm gonna go ahead and give you something special, Lynn. Thank you so much, Lynn. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't think that like the book itself isn't like a groundbreaking from like it puts things in context. If anything, it just supports a lot of the initial thoughts that many of us had as we were watching the show and we were talking about the show. It just supports a lot of that, like those initial feelings. So I'm right there with you. Um Mormon mono. Oh my goodness. Oh, good. What Lisa said. She said Robyn has the cold sores to show for it. The Mormon mono. Woo. Yeah, buddy. Uh, ooh. Um, was it Flying Chocolate? He believes. Okay, I got you. Darielle, you're about to come up. I got you. Um, Perception of his behavior is incorrect because we didn't buy the image he was trying to sell. We could all see through it. I 100% agree with that. Like he stuck himself. But we're gonna bring our first person up, Daryl. Are you ready to rock, bro? I see strolling. What's going
Yeah,
on, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. How's everything?
It is hot. I'm in Detroit, right outside of Detroit, and the humidity is crazy. I'm out doing some backyard cleaning before the week, and I had to hop in just to get your thoughts. I kind of did like a binge watch, season 17 through 18 over the weekend,
Okay,
and it was just a couple of things I wanted to like get your thoughts on
sure.
because I was reading through some of the stories about the season 19 premiere, and it looks like that they're going to discuss Garrison's unfortunate situation.
Hmm.
I'm trying to be respectful because I know YouTube guidelines, and so I'm not trying to
No, I
say,
appreciate that. I appreciate
yeah.
that.
So, but I have seen that a lot of the older kids, particularly McKelty, Harrison, and I think McKelty have opened up to say that they're really upset that they're going to address that in season 19. And it looks like they put some new non-compete agreements out there. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. And going back to what you said earlier about being, polygamy, from rewatching season 17, season 18, Cody kept discussing about like this was his God's plan for him to be a polygamist. But if all three of your wives are walking out, so if God's plan failed, and if you know what I'm saying, like because you know what I'm
Maybe
saying,
he don't know what he doing, right?
right? It's just like who are you talking to? Because I already feel like he got a loose chain in his brain, just
Right,
the way that
right.
he talks, and then like he tries to speak profoundly in the like the testimonials, but he's using
Mhm.
big words that don't make any sense, and it was just like it was just aggravating me. But I was just really curious to get your thoughts on season 19 because I've been glued to it ever since Christine walked out
Mhm.
on him, and I went back and rewatched this the episode where she officially tells him that she's done with him, and he kept saying like, oh, you're free to move, you're free to do whatever you want, but then the next minute like, why are you leaving me?
Right.
Why you know what I'm saying? It was just wild to hear that, and I'm not a dad. I hear you as a father.
Mhm.
If I'm a father and I'm talking like he's talking about his older children, like calling them jerks,
Right.
and because they're not listening to you, first of all, they're all adults, they're not kids anymore, they're
Mhm.
adults, and they're seeing you on a national scale openly disrespect their mother.
Right.
That's where I'm just like, you called Christine like, oh, she's not attractive. Like, how do you think her daughters are looking at you right now? It's just like it was the episodes that I was hearing him talk about his ex-wives, even Janelle, like Teflon Don, and just that episode in the room where he's just basically screaming at her and
Right.
walking out, and like as a son, if my dad ever talked to my mother like that,
Right.
furniture's moving, and I respect
Right.
my dad, but furniture is moving. So
Right.
if I'm Harrison, um if I'm Gabe and I'm looking at you talk to my mom, what makes you think I want a relationship with you? Like
Mhm.
what makes you think that? So it's a lot, but I really want to get your thoughts on everything that's coming out about season 19. I'll shut up and let you talk.
No, no, no. It's no worries, man. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
But just to address your point, like I think that there's a point where with regard to McKelty and all the siblings, I'm not going to say that they shouldn't feel the way they feel because I understand. Like people deal with grief differently. Um, as far as how TLC deals with it on the show, I think there's room for them if they deal with this situation respectfully and they give him his flowers and they allow the fans because the fans have watched, there are fans who have watched season 1, episode 1 from the beginning. And they've watched these kids, not just the marriages come together and fall apart, but they watched these kids literally grow up on the show. and they feel a connection to these kids. And I think that there is a service to be paid to the fan base who has that connection to the children, as long as it's done respectfully. And they take care with not just allowing people to go crazy on with speculation or wild talk, or Cody come off. And I'm hoping and praying that Cody doesn't come off and say something extremely insensitive or ridiculous on the show. I don't think he will. I'm hoping against hope that he won't. But if he does, that'll be a whole string of, like, I'm probably gonna lose my mind on some videos. But it's just like, I think that there's a place for it, but they just have to do it the right way. As far as there being a non-compete clause, yeah, TLC, I can see them doing that. Like, because they don't want anybody telling this story but them. And if anybody's going to tell the story, they want to tell the story. Why? Because they're going to make money from telling the story. So
And,
I can see them saying, like, if you guys talk about it, we're going to sue you.
and to me, that's where I'm a little bit concerned. Because even to your point, you mentioned it, I think, a few months back, the problematic history of TLC and their reality shows.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, if they have compassion, they will be very cautious in what they're going to be talking about in season 19. Case in point, the whole you've been hearing about the John and Kate situation with the twin,
Right.
who, like, they were very silent about that situation, but I think the young man was like, TLC knew about how Kate was treating him during filming, and they never, stepped in. Because I'm thinking from a business standpoint, they're thinking about ratings. They're not thinking about the compassion of the family. That's where I'm coming from. So that's why I'm still a little nervous, if that
Right.
makes
No,
any
absolutely.
sense. I'm still a little nervous about that, especially if they have footage of Garrison and are going to air it. I I will feel some kind of way. To be, as a fan, I will feel some kind of way if you're airing footage of this young man.
Right.
I because that, Janelle is still mourning him. The whole family still mourning him. I think that will be very tacky. This is me talking. It'll be very tacky to
No, I agree.
highlight any footage of Garrison on the show for season 19. I think you should just mention it, maybe showcase the memorial service, and let Janelle, if she's up to it, talk. Let Cody talk. Leave it alone, and just
Right.
and just end it right there. That's where I'm coming from with it.
No,
But
I
I
100% agree. Because I
yeah
would even take it a step further, because I was actually considering doing a video about 90 Day Fiance and why I've slowed down. Because initially when I started the channel, that was the show that I was commenting on, 90 Day Fiance,
yeah.
and why I won't comment on it anymore. As long as they keep Angela Dean from 90 Day Fiance on there, I'm not watching anything with. If they have her on a show, I'm not watching it,
I'm
hands
gonna
down.
I'm gonna keep it a buck, and I'm happy that you. I'm so done with 90 Day Fiance because it's becoming pure exploitation, and
Hmm.
it's promoting xenophobia. Let's just call it like it is.
Right.
The whole, I don't know if you watched the whole Muhammad and Danielle situation. I've heard multiple people say, like, there's nothing entertaining about that. That man was
Yeah.
exploited, and the whole Angela situation, it's not only abuse, it's disgusting. And
Right.
this is what I'm talking about with TLC and their problematic television programming. And I
Right.
think because the ratings are so high, nobody is doing anything. And that's the
Hmm.
same thing going back to Sister Wives, because somebody would have came in and talked to Cody and be like, "Yo, you need to slow down talking about your kids like this."
Right.
And,
Right. Right. You need to
on
pull up, bro.
yeah, on national television, like, you need to calm down calling them jerks. And I do not believe that he's talked to them, like, in that time frame when he was talking about the whole family get together and they had a big falling out with Robyn, and he swears up
Mhm.
and down he talked to them. I don't think he talked to anybody. I think
No.
he's just lying, because he's going out one ear out the other. He's saying one thing, something totally different.
Right.
But yeah, Angela, I'm with you 100%. That woman needs to be arrested.
Yeah. Is it? This is kind of where I'm like, if they treat it with respect, if they're respectful, but they have a history of not being respectful and conscientious of, and it's not even just conscientious of people, but even protecting your product because that's what these
Yes.
people are. Because clearly you don't see them as human beings.
No.
You're not even protecting your product because you're allowing the people to come in and emotionally abuse folks
Yeah.
on the show, like you said, for ratings. And that in and of itself is disgusting to me. Like,
Correct.
all this is entertainment to a point, but there's a point where it just becomes too much. Like,
Yeah.
and Angela's been at that point. Like, I watched this woman smash cakes in this man's face. I watched her throw drinks on him. I watched her jump up and cuss him down. And one of the things that really bothers me about this situation is that even in the was it the 90-day fiance tell-all, they had an instance where one of the young ladies got plastic surgery, and
Hmm.
because her husband didn't encourage her to go out and get a job and forget the kids, you're no longer going to be a housewife, and because he wasn't 100% on board with her, abandoning the housewife position to pursue a career, all of a sudden everybody's talking about he's abusive.
Oh
But
my
you're
goodness.
watching this woman jump in this dude's face, and
Yes.
nobody says anything. Like, it's like, I agree that it's Alexi and Lauren. I
Yeah.
agree that Alexi should support his wife. That's between them, whatever their relationship dictates.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. And then also, like, I'm looking at you, Sean Robinson, as the host. I'm like, maybe the producers are stepping in and telling her not to go tough, but like, as a black woman, you're gonna stand there and watch this person be humiliated and be humane
right,
on a national television by this crazy woman who was basically using him as a sex object. Let's call it like it is, a
right,
sex
right,
object. And this is what I'm talking about: exploiting xenophobia and people of
right.
other ethnicities on a national stage. It's yeah. Well, I'm not gonna keep you, man. I just wanted to share my thoughts. I really enjoy your series. I love when you get with Sarah and Amanda, and I'm looking forward to it in season 19. Oh, one more thing before I go.
Sure,
Did you
sure.
did you see Sarah's interview with Cody's nephew?
No, I was actually out of the loop. I was disconnected from everything, so I have to go back and watch it.
Go watch that. He brought in some like historical background that is kind of nuts, and he also discussed how he's disappointed in Cody, and he brought up Logan's life and how Logan has nothing to do with the show and Cody because Cody Logan was the ipso facto ad hoc dad for the
Right,
kids, and
right.
he not at 32 he wants nothing to do with the family because he didn't feel like he had a childhood. He talked about parentification, which is
Yeah.
known in the LDS community, where the oldest kid is actually the parent and helps with raising him, and he's disappointed in that. But I definitely say look at Sarah's interview with him. It was really good, and I'm very happy to hop in. I just had to hop in after doing that binge watching and looking at season 19, man. But keep up the good work. Really happy to hop on and have a chat with you.
No, awesome, man. I appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, no problem, man. You enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, you too.
Okay.
Stay
All right.
cool out there in Michigan, man. Detroit be
Man.
rough.
Man, I'm telling you. All right, man. You have a good one.
Have a good one, brother.
You too. Bye bye.
All right, later. All right. Thank you so much for dialing in. If anybody else wants to come up, we have open lines. Folks can come in. Folks can come in anytime you like. Um, yeah, Lynn Skinner said Logan and Aspen both. Yeah. And it's unfortunate too, because when that happens, um, one of the sad things when you have kids who are put in positions where they actually become parents is that it stifles a lot of their excitement about having their own children. And that's what I've been noticing, especially in some of these reality shows. Even, you see people when they're younger and like all of a sudden they have like heaps of responsibility. When they get older, they don't want to do kids because I've been there, done that. Like, I want to enjoy the rest of my life. They're almost like middle-aged parents at like 25, 30 years old. It's crazy. So I mean, I certainly feel for them in that respect. Especially there is and I don't want to be a jerk, but in some respects, when you have a lot of children and you don't have a lot of resources, then you're putting a lot of stress onto those children. And it's not like, I always tell my kids, fare is what you pay to get on the bus. But there is a sense of unfairness, just inherent unfairness in that. Because you're relying on kids who are older to take care of younger children that were your decisions. These are consequences from your actions, from your decisions, but you're looking at your children to take care of that responsibility for you. And I think that that in itself is problematic. Um, Let me see. I'm gonna try to catch up with some of these comments. Right. I feel like a lot of us have to start our sister wife thoughts with, I don't want to be a jerk. I find myself saying that more and more. Like, I don't want to be an asshole here, but whew, okay. But like it's like every other statement like that. It starts off like that. I don't want to be a jerk here, but like I know it's going to be kind of rough. Might ruffle some feathers. But some folks gonna have to get Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oh well. Yeah, man. Uh okay, okay. Ruth Carroll, if anyone needs another good laugh, look at Down the Rabbit Hole at bedtime today was great. I'll check it out. That's my homegirl. I gotta get her if she ever if anybody knows her, if she ever wants to come up, let her brother know. Because she makes me laugh watching her videos. I watched her videos before. It's on point. And she had one series where she was the sixth wife. Hilarious. Hilarious. Um so let's talk a little bit. Hey Katie, she's awesome. Give her flowers, Kathy. Say Katie Rabbit is awesome. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, if she ever want to come up, she can definitely come up. Hit a brother up if you want to come on the show. More than welcome. Skit about Robyn's breakdance. Oh wow. Yeah. Oh wowzy wow. Oh wowie wow. I hate mornings in the house. What's up? Angie and Tim's cartoons. Yeah, I've seen a few of those. They are funny. They are funny. Um, let's see. Flying Chungle. I came from a poor large family. We knew we had to help each other growing up. As adults, we still help each other. That's part of being a large family. We never paid for daycare, lol. Well, see, I think that there's a clever balance in how you do anything. Yeah, and in fairness, you can be from a large family as long as like it's not even so much the fact that you have kids who look out for the younger siblings. I'm an older sibling. Like I have a younger brother. And it is my job to look out for my younger brother. When I would go out, it was my job. Like ipso facto, when I go out, if something were to happen to my little brother when we out, I have to answer for what happened. Like that's the way it go. You know what I mean? Like I said, fair is what you pay when you get on the bus. Like so you have responsibilities as an older sibling to look out for your younger siblings. You know, if you're in the house, like I'm Gen Xer, so latchkey kid. And I have a younger sibling. So when we would be home, we'd come home and the parents weren't home yet because they were still working. You know, I had to make sure certain things get taken care of. When we came in, it is what it is. But at no point, and this is, I think, the subtle difference, at no point can I ever say that I was my brother's father, de facto or otherwise. I was his big brother. I looked out for my little brother because that was my job, my responsibility as his brother. But I was no way his father. His father was James Sr. I'm James Jr. That was my brother. Okay. His daddy is James Sr. That's the way it worked. Like so, but when I saw Logan and what Logan and even Aspen what they were going through because there were so many children and there was so much responsibility. You have wives who are trying to attend to the needs of a husband. you have a situation that's born and bred in an environment where you have a young man who is now essentially the father or the man of the house, because the man of the house isn't present. His mom is working, so it falls on him to take care of, not look after, but to take care of his younger siblings. And that's a lot of pressure and that's a lot of responsibility. And that can cause problems. Now, to Flying Chonkla's point, like my family wasn't that big. There was four of us. Um, so we're by no means a big family. Um, but I will say, excuse me, but I will say, um, we looked out for each other. And to this day, like when I went out of town, my brother was the one that was taking care of my household. You know what I mean? He was, come by, he take care of my pets and all that, make sure everything was copacetic. Like, and if the one person, well, I won't say the one person, but one person for sure that if I ever needed something, and it's reciprocal, if he ever needed something, he could have my last of anything. And with my brother, I know that for like with our relationship, if I ever needed something, he'd be the first one there to help me out. And that's our sibling relationship. But it by no means is that I'm not trying to take the place of his father. And I never thought I was my brother's dad. So I think that that's kind of the subtle difference. Let's see. Peach. There's that Prince song, Peach. Mm. Uh, Irresponsible to have so many kids when they couldn't support them, but that happens. Situations change in life, job losses, etc. What's awful is they have the older kids no consideration when they had. Yeah, I agree with that. Like it, and the one thing that I always try to encourage, things happen, things happen. But the one thing that we do have some control over is our procreation. And we just have to manage that and maintain that as best we can. So you try not to have any babies that you're not ready for, that you don't want. And it's not that time. Like, it's again, like mistakes happen, things happen, stuff goes on, whatever the case may be. But as a ideal, try to keep some discipline, because you don't want to, because kids are expensive. Like, and that's the thing. Like, it's not even a shot on children. Children are great. They're wonderful. They change your life. They change your perspective on a lot of things. Sitting there, even just this week, spending time with my kids on a vacation, and like everybody being disconnected. Like, I didn't have any internet. I didn't have access to my phones, none of that stuff. So I didn't have any of the tethers, the social tethers that a lot of us deal with, and just dealing with my kids and my family from that respect, it gives you an appreciation of who they are as people, right? So, with that being said, I think that you want to be in a position where you can appreciate the time that you have with your kids. And like Pete said, things happen. Like, you could be set up. I'm not saying it's strictly financial, because you could be set up in a great, wonderful job, and all of a sudden your company gets bought out, or you get laid off, or you get fired, whatever the case may be. You lose that job, and you got to make a way. But you don't want to start off knowing that your situation is jacked up and say, "Hey, let's go out and have 10 more kids." That's all I'm saying. If anybody else wants to come up, I'm gonna put the link. Oh, I'm sorry. I typed in "Hey Virgo" because you came in, but I never sent it. So if anybody else would like to come up, I just pop the link in. Oh yes, Prize Emperors, I am back safe once again. I've returned in my own idiom. No, it was a very relaxing time. It was a good time. I had a lot of fun with my kids and my family. Wife was a good time. Holding brother down. It's good. It's always good to recharge your batteries. And it's also good to spend some time with your loved ones, especially like you know what? I've developed a new appreciation at least once a week, at some point during the week, try to disconnect from everything. Because I can't tell you like the relief it is and the relaxation you get from just not being connected, like social media, all that. Just disconnect because it's just like it just seems like you're when you're connected to everything all the time, it's just like your mind is always working. Like you're always on to something. Like if you're not looking at social media, you're looking at you're playing a game or you're checking emails or whatever, but sometimes you just gotta step back. And I'm completely recharged and I will be releasing a whole bunch of content coming up. I'm very excited about it. This is my sister-in-law never paid daycare because her kids was always with me. No one was hurting him. I've got you, sis. Hey, there you go. Nothing like family. Yeah, Danny Towns. I have the kids I can afford, period. I'm with you. And that's the thing too. Like, because I have two children, and when I look at it, could I have done more kids? Possibly. But I was always concerned with time and, being able to give them all the stuff that I want to be able to give them and do the things I want to be able to do, having time for them so that if they have any issues, problems, concerns, I could always spend that time with them to help shape them or give them guidance or counseling or just, ear to bend if they need to. Um, but when you have 30 people in the house, it's hard to do, to do any of that. So just my perspective. What's this? Yes, Misty. If people truly pitched in, why were Logan and Aspen having to do so much? Ooh, ooh. That's a good question. Let's see. What's this? Misty Braun. The fact that the OG3 lived in the same house, yet Logan was having to make breakfast and get his siblings ready for school, and Aspen was having to put the kids to bed, and four adults. Four? Yeah. Cheers, because that's the weakness of polygamy as it was presented on the show. And that's part of what I mean. Like they presented polygamy in a way that they tried to say that it was you know, you always have people around helping you out and we work as a team. But apparently, even when they were living in Utah in a Lehigh house, they lived in four separate apartments. They had four separate households, and each one of those households was responsible for maintaining said household. And they didn't see it as one family. And that's part of the problem. I think that that's part of what caused the dissolution of the Brown family uh, experience because they didn't have that united front. Now, I'm not saying like it's there. It's almost like living with your friends. The way they presented it, it's almost like you would live with your friends. So you would have a friend that you deal with. They wouldn't necessarily come over to watch your kids all the time, but they might watch your kids here and there, make sure that there's no smoke coming out of your apartment. But they're not running down there to check on them and wake up in the morning and cook them breakfast. And I think that's kind of where Logan fell in, and that's just. And if we're going to keep it all the way a stack, that's just what we see. Because, like Cody said, you guys only saw 20 hours of our whole life. So we saw Logan get up and make breakfast and described it. This is what he does every day. But we didn't see what happens when the kids came home and Logan had to sit down and do homework. We didn't see what happened when the kids came in and they had issues or problems or concern, and Logan had to deal with those problems because his mom wasn't home yet, and maybe Christina or whatever wasn't available. Christine, Mary, or Cody wasn't available. So we didn't see that. We didn't see that when Aspen had to do the same thing, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of stuff that we can look at, and to be honest with you, uh this is that weird part where Cody wants to call it out, but I'll give him what he wants and say you're right. We do know that what we saw on the show, and I will assume that it was probably way worse. That Logan was probably doing way more than just getting up making some breakfast. Aspen was doing way more than just putting her kids to bed or siblings to bed at night. So just thinking about it. I said to my husband, we only been Catholic 4 times. and we have a girl and a boy and call it good. Awesome. Okay. Brittany, not Brittany in the house. What's up? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday.
Welcome to the show.
Yes, happy to be here again. I made it again. Yes. um One thing that I wanted to bring up, especially since it's like Cody's chapter or whatever, is that especially now, and Cody, talks about how hard it is and how he never gets a break and da da da. Is now it comes off as whiny, and like you just have no sympathy for him, and it
Mhm,
makes me think of I read um the Darger book, which I know
mhm,
people aren't really fans of them, but I after reading their book I was like, I like them better than Cody for sure. But one of the things that he talks about in the book is, he talks about how in their book is he talks about how, he doesn't get a break, but this is the life that he chose,
mhm.
choosing to be a father and a husband to all of these kids and all of these women. And he talks about that, like, yes, it is difficult, there is no off button for me, somebody is always needing me at every hour of the day, which is
Right.
true. And the difference between him and Cody is Cody presents it as, it takes a special type of man to do this. And, I'm that special type of man. And whereas with the Dargers, you kind of get the perspective where he's just like, I'm not advocating for anybody to do this. We recognize that this is craziness. It's low key,
Mhm.
but we've managed to do it, and we're doing it because, of this is our religious faith. And I feel like if the Browns had come on and taken that perspective of, yes, we acknowledge this is really difficult and not everybody should do it, but we're not perfect people, we're just trying, versus like, we're going to be the spokespeople of polygamy and we're doing X, Y, and Z right. The fact that now that they've failed essentially at polygamy, people would be able to have a little more sympathy, maybe, especially for Cody, if in the first few seasons he wasn't coming across as this know-it-all, you guys just don't know what you're talking about, this lifestyle is
Mhm.
great, and we're so perfect type deal.
Right, right. No, I
And,
think no, go ahead.
oh, no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that that's an excellent point because one of the things that, occurred to me not too long ago was Cody had initially, to your point about how they came off in the first couple seasons, when he said that he used to talk about how difficult polygamy was and how he was called to do it and how it's an amazing experience and how he's the only one that can navigate it because he has this experience. And even from that respect, this is part of the reason why I think a lot of people dislike Robyn, is because she too came off like an expert in polygamy, where
Yes.
they would do the whole, this is what it's like to be a polygamist, and you monogamists don't understand that it's amazing being, so they had that thing. And one of the things that occurred to me, to your point, was that early on Cody had said, during the debate at UNLV, I think it was season 5 or 6, where they were having a debate with the students at the not the students, the people, former polygamous people, And it wasn't even really a debate. The only ones debating were the Browns.
Oh, why are you
You
fighting
know?
with yourselves?
Right. And they came in to tell their story. The Browns they came in to fight. So
Is what it was. It became bullying.
right.
Being victims, guys, please.
Right. It was rough. It was a rough watch. But during the course of that, there was one part where Cody had said, or Christine had said, if he always held that there are no prisoners here. And if one of us wants to leave, he wants us to leave and he'll buy us a house and he'll give us money because he doesn't want us to feel trapped and centered here. But then when one of them did decide to leave, Christine, the same person who said before that we could leave anytime we wanted, he gonna give us money and buy us a house. She bought a house and she was making the payments on the house. And he was talking about he wanted half the house money. So not only was he not going to buy your house, he wanted to take your house.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it just comes to the point of, I think that like you were saying, and step with what you were saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the idea that it's one thing to say that you're about a thing. It's another thing when that thing happens and you have to put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
You have to be the man that you said you were. You
Mhm.
say that polygamy is awesome. Nobody is ever alone. Nobody is by themselves. We watched Mary sit alone in the house by herself during the pandemic. We also watched Logan and I think Danny Townsend and Misty brought up that the kids were, if everybody was in it together, the 4 adults were in it together, 5 adults were in it together. Why were these kids getting up in the morning taking care of these other babies and putting them to sleep? So I agree with you. I think that the way they portrayed it in the beginning, even from Joe Darger is a politician.
He is.
It
definitely reads as, believe me, it does read as very smarmy, but
right.
It's believable smarminess. I can at least go, okay, there's some truth in this. Versus the Browns, I'm just like, all of you are unreliable narrators in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And not just unreliable narrators where, at least with the Dargers, is like you can tell that they all got their story straight with the story they're going to tell regarding their family.
Right.
How y'all all going to have 5 different stories? Why? On the same story, in multiple chapters, we're talking about the same situation, and y'all have 5 different accounts on what happened.
Right.
I don't understand. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say you said it like were any of you there? Because the way you describe it is like none of you were present when this all happened. But go ahead, I'm sorry. I mean to cut you off.
And one thing you brought up the panel with the former polygamist that I really need to see is Christine come out and apologize to her aunt, because I also read her aunt's book.
Okay.
And that is the most trauma-filled, horrific, like almost every chapter is just like, oh my goodness, this woman has gone through so much. She's seen so much. And this came out, if my timeline is right, this came out before the Browns came out. And of course, Christine's aunt is a pretty big name. The Browns had to have known about the book.
Right.
And one of the things that I don't know, I can't remember if Christine's aunt was a part of the AUB, if they were still a part of that sect. But basically, one of the things that Christine's aunt brings up is the trauma, we'll use that word, that happened to the young girls in that faith.
Mm-hmm.
She's not talking about Warren Jeffs and him. She's talking about Christine's faith. So Christine coming on and go, I didn't know men could be such bastards. And I'm like,
yeah,
everybody knew. It was the way Christine's aunt, is her name also Christine? Christina? The way the aunt writes it is essentially it came out to everybody in the faith that this had been a big thing going on with a lot of the leaders in their faith.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess maybe like in the 90s-ish is where everything started to come out. So I'm like, this would have been a big deal. Christine had to have known this for as integrated as she is. And
Right.
for her not only to go like, "Ah, I didn't know men could be such bastards," to like play the naive perspective, but to then essentially go on and call these people who clearly have a lot of hurt within them, to sit there and join in bullying them and basically calling them liars and blaming
Hmm.
for their situations, was like, I haven't been able to look at Christine the same since I read that book, and it's not a good look, and it's not really talked about, but I feel like it's something that she, for me, I think she really needs to address it, because it wasn't a good look for her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because the her name is Kristen Brown. Like,
Yes.
yeah. So it's very close. It's very close. And I actually, the way the feeling you have, I'll add it on this. When, because I do recall the scene. I had no idea that they could be such bastards. They're sitting on the couch, and she said that. And at that moment, what was going on to me was they were trying to create a bubble around the fundamentalist Mormons, the FLDS church. Uh, I always forget his name. I think I just block it out mentally, like it's my mental block. Warren Jeffs.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think they try to pretend that all the evil that was going on in these polygamous camps, as far as like the child brides and all that, that was all Warren Jeffs. That wasn't us, because we're the rest of us are normal. It's
Mhm.
these weirdos that you guys are confusing us with, and I think that that's the chit that she played. But like you said, it wasn't just Kristen Brown who had a negative experience. Like, she had a whole bunch of stuff, from what
Yes.
I understand, a lot of trauma that
Mhm.
Christine would have been aware of. But her mother also experienced a significant amount of trauma, and which caused her to leave not only the faith, but leave her husband, and then by default leaving her kids with her husband,
Mhm.
because she couldn't deal with the situation as it were. So
Right.
it's not that you had no idea that these things were going on. The question is, did you decide to ignore it,
Mhm.
or are you intentionally feigning ignorance to it because you don't want to look bad? And to your point, I think that you do yourself a disservice, because as a rational person, I can create a distinction between one group and another group. I can
Yeah.
create a distinction between one person and another person. But when you try to hide or conceal, all of a sudden it look, okay, well, maybe there are things you aren't telling me. And
Mhm.
maybe there's a lot more going on that you're willing to admit, because you lied about this. So what else are you lying about? You
Mhm.
know? And I think that that's a good point. Like, I think that, like, because Christine, like, whether we like it or not, like, I like her story arc,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, I think that all of the characters on the show, the OG3 specifically,
Mhm.
they greatly benefit by the people that they stand next to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so as long as they stand next to Cody, they keep Cody and Robyn on the show, you guys are golden.
Beautiful.
Right? Your situation is set. But they ever cut them off the show, then people might start looking at you a little closer.
Really,
You
really.
know.
Yes. There's one other thing. Robyn. Him, the way he talks about Robyn. Mary did an interview where she talked about how, for her, she was kind of, because she grew up in the faith, essentially, she was taught that, if you feel these jealousies or anything, it makes you a bad person. Like,
Right.
that it makes you human. It's something that you're supposed to overcome. That seems to be Janelle's take on it. Like, Janelle seems to be of the mindset of like, yeah, jealousy will happen, but we're all growing together.
Hmm.
Mary had the thought process of, I'm a bad wife, I'm a bad person, I'm a bad believer,
Hmm.
in a way. And I feel like Cody used that especially against Mary and Christine, to manipulate them. Because you were talking about how he said that they had a problem with Robyn's courtship, with his courtship of Robyn. Well, according to everybody, Cody had, or with courtship, according to everybody, Cody had had multiple courtships prior to. So there, if they all believe in the faith, and this would say that everybody believes in this faith, where the more wives you have, and the closer you get to your big heaven, and this, that, and the other. I don't really care. That's not my opinion to say whether you're right or wrong on that situation.
Right.
This is what you're telling me that you believe. So it doesn't track to me that they would truly have issues with, other than, the baseline human jealousy, which everybody is going to have, that they wouldn't have an issue with a courtship. It really was Robyn. And instead of him being willing to acknowledge that their issues go to this specific woman, he blames them. He turns their faith against them. Just like, well, you're a bad sister wife, and you don't want us to get, like, I can honestly see Cody basically going like, well, you don't want us to get to this next level of heaven because you don't want to let Robyn in.
Right.
Robyn, who, as he says, has all this baggage. I don't know I know what he vetted her with, but for the sake of it, we don't know what he vetted her with.
Right.
He had all that debt and those kids, and he's just like, oh yeah, I can't feed my kids. We're gonna bring in these 3 other kids plus her. I'm gonna make her get a job. I mean, she's looking for a job. She's been looking.
Well, still looking.
She's still looking.
Right.
Looking. She's like the Scooby-Doo camp, just still searching. But it just shows how from the beginning he's kind of always been manipulative, because even Mary talked about how she kind of really wasn't sure if she was going to choose polygamy for herself. Like, when she got some friends that were outside of her faith, she wasn't quite sure until Cody came in, and all of a sudden she's like, oh yeah, I guess this sounds great. Sure. It just seems like from the beginning he's always manipulating them to get his way, and it's actually quite funny to see him not be able to manipulate Robyn. And I really can't wait to see how that plays out, because he's not able to manipulate her, and she was only able to manipulate him because he had the other wives for her to go like, look at these bad women doing bad things. You have to give me what I want.
Right.
I'm great. And I'm also praying for you every night on my knees.
Right. Yeah, praying. That's one way to say it. But the whole thing, like, I think with regard to Robyn and her entrance into the family, I'll start from there. I think that Robyn has the unique position of being the one who Cody wanted. So because she's what he wants, there's a certain power in that. There's a power in that where she can make suggestions. She has the ability to, like, she would step back and say, I think a few times she said to Christine or one of the other wives that, I don't understand why you just don't suggest this to Cody. Or if I have a problem with Cody, season 17, when she was on doing the tell-all, if I have a problem with Cody, I'll just pull him into the room and we're going to talk about it, and he won't leave until we come to a resolution. That's because you have that power, because he wants to be with you. If one of the other wives took the same position or the same tactic that she took, it wouldn't be as successful. Damn near wouldn't be successful, but it certainly wouldn't be as effective, because that would be a household that Cody doesn't want to go to a place where he's having a conversation or discussion with Christine, because he doesn't necessarily respect her at the same level. And when we look at it, we say that that's not fair, that he has these women who have been with him for this long, and he has X amount of kids with them. He has 12 kids between Janelle and Christine, and he only has 2 kids with Robyn. But he respects Robyn almost triple the amount of respect he has for Robyn than he does for Christine and Janelle. It's not fair. But fair has nothing to do with it.
No.
You know what I mean? And length of time, I don't think has anything to do with it. I think that at the end of the day, Robyn is the one that he wanted, and then she had certain abilities just from that respect. And the whole idea that there might have been a couple guys at the church that maybe Cody felt like he had bested by getting Robyn, that might have been a bonus too, because was he really competing for the other 3 women? That's kind of a question too.
I think there was other men trying to get at her, but it is not just Cody. And I don't think it's fair, but we're not talking about what's fair. I don't think that it's fair that at Robyn's age that she was, that it's fair to judge her for having been married before and having kids.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But that is the way the world works.
Right.
I don't think that it was just Cody who thought, oh, this woman already has 3 kids and it's divorced. And from the timeline, wasn't even actually divorced. She was still, she wasn't legally divorced. She was going through the process, but she had old boy, if they decided to work it out, they could have worked it out,
She could have went home.
Right.
Right. She could have went home.
So
and
that's something that other people who weren't as infatuated with her as Cody would have truly vetted her for.
Right.
I think that there were really any other significant. I think somebody said, "Oh, she's cute," and she was like, "Oh man, he wants me. He wants me." So you better jump on this because I'm
right
about to get picked up here.
Right. So, I'm finna get scooped. Well, because there's also because I think that a lot of it deals with some points that you have made before. It deals with the culture of where they are. Because in the first instance, the culture, because I like as a grown ass man, I'm gonna be honest, as a grown man, if you 30 years old, 40 years old, and you're in a dating market, you very well are going to run into people who have been in previous relationships, possibly marriages, and they may have children from those courtships, from those relationships, or from those marriages. It just is what it is. That's life. But with these folks, because there is such a I don't want to say predilection, but there's such an inclination within their communities to date younger,
yes,
and to find that innocence because they want to be the first this and first that, so therefore they do try to date younger. Like in mainstream America, it would be weird for a 50-year-old man to try to go after an 18-year-old girl, or younger. In their world, that would be normal.
Right.
I mean, it will be normal. So from that respect, I can see what you're saying. And she might not have been as hot, as hot to try that she tries to portray. The second part of that, though, is, like I've heard people make certain braggadocious claims. I've been with so many people in my lifetime. I've had so many experiences, et cetera, et cetera. We know what we're talking about. We're grown folk, right? But the one thing that they never say, when they say that, you automatically assume in your mind, for the most part, at least the way I read it, most people assume that those people who they've supposedly been with, I've been with 1,000 women, that each one of those women were CoverGirl models.
Yes.
Victoria's Secret models or whatever. The truth of the matter is, when you're going for quantity, you're not reaching quality. And it becomes a question of the quality of men that were trying to pursue Robyn when she entered into the church. There's a strong possibility Cody might have been the pick of the litter as far as the quality of men that were going after her within that community, So there's that. But even with the regard to the even something you said earlier about Christine and even Mary having their faith turned on them, I
Mhm.
think that it's interesting that that's a chit that really couldn't be played against Janelle. And a big reason why it couldn't be played against Janelle is because she didn't grow up in that faith.
Right.
That's her adopted faith. So
Mhm.
she didn't have she didn't have a lot of the same limitations that some of these other women had. And you know, no smash on them. It is what it is. Like that's just how you were brought up. And he Cody not being part of the faith, but maybe understanding the institution,
Mm.
understands that the institution as it's perceived, or at least as I'm perceiving it, can be used in a way as a sword against the women who are in these relationships by
Yeah.
saying that, you know, if you don't feel comfortable with something I'm doing, it's not me, it's
Right.
you. You
Mhm.
have to figure out what's wrong with you. If you don't feel comfortable, who would feel comfortable with your husband going out trying to talk, bring another woman home? Nobody. But
Not a
if you don't feel comfortable with it, that's your problem.
right.
You
Right.
know?
It reminds me of like I'm Southern Baptist, and one of the bigger things that has like irked my nerves is, especially when I was younger, um, you know, you deal with like anxiety, depression, all these things, and a lot of times, especially like older people will give you the pushback of just like, oh well, you know, your faith is just weak, you just need to pray.
Mhm.
Is that is very similar to that of how um especially the women who are raised in the faith, is they feel like it is truly a faith thing, like, oh, I just have to pray harder versus
Mhm.
I have to do this, versus this is a crappy man and he's doing something crappy to you. And for Janelle, I think because she was a convert, and also Janelle doesn't strike me as a person who would join a religion without knowing intimately how the religion functions.
Mhm.
So for Janelle, she's coming in, she's not going with what she was, with what, you know, the sort of bare bones that you get taught when you're younger. She was like, I'm going to dive into this. And I think she dove in way more than Cody did. I think Cody dove in enough to be able to say, like, I can have a passable conversation with someone who does not know this faith.
Right.
You know, I can see him getting overshadowed by Janelle if they try to have any sort of theological talks, because she's going to know what he's referencing, and she's also
Mhm.
able to like push back. And that might have also been the reason why he wasn't able to manipulate her as much, because she knows the text, like she's read it, so you're not
Right.
that against her.
Right. Right. Well, because I would even say with that, I think that there are 2 points. First point, it's how your brain works. And
Hmm.
if you have a more of an analytical mind where you think about things like you're a rule person, like you understand the rules, you can cite the rules verbatim and you know why the rules are the rules.
Yes.
Then you have people who will look at those same rules and try to figure out how those rules can benefit them. And I
Mm.
think that's more where Cody was. Like he found out just enough about it. So you say I can have more than one wife? Okay,
Yes.
that's all I need to know. Enough
They-
said, player. Close that chapter, and then move on. Whereas, like you said, I think Janelle would get into it a little more. The the second part of it is, and I lost the train. I'm trying to get it back, but the second part of it is with religion. Religion, I've always felt that religion can either be a stone or a staff. Like
Mhm.
in your path to enlightenment or your path to understanding, compassion, whatever, it can either be a staff that helps you in your journey, in your walk, or it can be a stone that weighs you down and
Mhm.
doesn't allow freedom of movement,
Right.
expression, or thought. And the way that a lot of people who try to control other folks with religion, they
Mhm.
take that staff portion of the text away and leave the stone. And
Stone.
they leave that stone as a source of oppression. And this is where a lot of folks get a bad, religion gets a bad rap with a lot of people because they see that, religion is such a powerful personal thing
Mhm.
that you feel like you said earlier about Mary. When she's talking about this relationship, why did Mary stay so long? Because she viewed the failure of her relationship and her marriage as a personal failure. It's a
Yes.
spiritual failing. It's a character failing. So if my marriage fails, it's not because this dude's an asshole. It failed because I am not the person I need to be to keep this person in my life and in my relationship. And I think that that's why she stayed as long as she did. And that's not a fault of hers. It's just the way she was brought up. It's the environment that she was trained in,
Yeah.
you know.
It's the way she was brought up, and I do believe that Mary should like own her part in it.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I feel like Cody just should not have been such an ass. It's just
Right, right.
like they're both true. Like Cody was, in my opinion, mentally abusive towards Mary. And Mary is also, Mary was going to therapy for a very long time. And it's one of those things where it's like at some point you have to do the work.
Right. Right.
Mary's been in therapy, we're talking, you know, before the show, before Robyn even came into, or maybe afterwards, but definitely before the show, so however many years since then, Mary's been in therapy. And I'm sure that there was some religious aspect for her that kept her from really, where she's just like, well, I don't want to focus on the things that will make me aware that Cody's the problem and I need to leave, because then I think people also forget is like, we know that they're aspiring to get to like 12th tier heaven or whatever.
Mm.
They're aspiring to get there. What happens if you leave that? Like when your soul is on the line, what do you do then?
Right. Right.
Just walk away. For Christine was just like, well, I don't believe in this anymore, so I'm done.
Yeah.
Mary truly believes in it. So for her, it's like, well, if I walk away, not only do I not get my spot in heaven, in this heaven, but if your entire family is going to be there, does that mean that you don't get to be with your family in heaven? Like there's so much more than just this, oh, he's mean to you and you should walk away. And I think
Right.
one of the things in the conversation regarding Mary that frustrates me is it's very much just like, well, Mary's just pathetic. She needs to stand up for herself. Da 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 da. And this is true. Not just pathetic, but she did need to stand up for herself. But there's more going on than just, her love for Cody.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's actually an interesting point. And I'd be curious if there's anybody in the chat who is aware of this question or has the answer to this question. Please put it in the chat, or you can even come up. But I'm also curious because I know that when, at least I am informed
Right.
that when the people, I don't know, I'm not in a religion, but
Right.
when you pass and you go to the afterlife, you go to your kingdom or whatever, your planetary kingdom.
Mhm.
When you get there, it's my understanding that the husband is the gatekeeper of that particular realm.
Mhm.
So when the wives pass, in order for them to get into that heaven, they have a secret name or a word or something. I think it's a name that the husband gives to the wife, or the wife and the husband share with each other. And
Right.
then the wife, when she gets there, she says the name to the husband, and he lets her into the heaven or whatever. So my question is, if that's true, does the wife also bring her kids or her children into that heaven too? So is it possible that by Mary being shut out or shut out of the family or shut out of that heaven, that
Mm-hmm.
she's not only condemning herself, but would she also be condemning her child
Yeah.
to that same fate? Like, I'm curious. I suspect that may be the case, but I'm not 100% sure. If somebody knows, please, or if you know, let me know. But yeah, I'm curious about that because
Yeah.
again, that would be external pressure, like you said, because it's not just about what makes you happy in this lifetime, but what makes you happy in the next. And if you have responsibilities for other people, you're not just blocking yourself out; you could be blocking someone else out,
Mm-hmm.
which is a whole problem in and of itself. There's also a point too where if you look at the comparison between like a Christine and a Mary, in Christine's case, her dad is still a part of the AUB, but her mom is not.
Right.
And so her mom had already left. So she has the example of somebody who has left the faith, left the religion. And unfortunately for Mary, her mom was in it
Yes.
until the day she died. And she had great value in her mom. Like she values her mom opinion and her mom's perspective and the teachings that her mom gave her. So I can see a world where Mary doesn't want to necessarily turn her back on the faith because she'll feel like she's turning her back on her mom as well. So
And her mom also sided with Cody on just about everything. Like Cody always said that whenever she was mad, he would just call um Mary's mom, and Mary be like, "Oh well," and Mary's mom would be like, "Oh well, Cody's right, and you need to apologize," and da da da. So even when she gets grown and she has her own husband, she's still being influenced by her mother. Like she's not. I think Christine had the perspective where Annie, Christine's mom, would, when Christine would maybe like complain about Cody or talk about Cody, Christine's mom would kind of go, "Well, that's not okay," or like, he's throwing off your schedule. Like Christine's mom would give her little, not to dissuade her from being with Cody, but give her little inklings that something isn't quite right or that it's not Christine's fault.
right.
On Mary's part, she did not have that. She had someone who was always basically saying, "Well, you need to go apologize to him," and where it seemed like Cody could do no wrong. And
Right, right.
then Mary truly believes that Cody can do no wrong, even when he's actively telling her, "I'm doing wrong."
Right, right. It's the Christine's mom was there more of a support system for her.
Yeah,
Whereas Mary's mom, because I did hear that Mary's mom would like they would have disagreements or Mary would go to her mom and complain that Cody is treating me and such. That's your husband. You have to respect him. Now go back and apologize and you try to make it work with him. And you do what you have to do in order to make him happy.
mm-hmm.
And that's way different than what most people would tell their kids.
Yes, and that does happen in some relationships where there is not great things happening. Is sometimes you may have someone that you trust who's telling you to look the other way as bad things are being done to you, to go, "Well,
Hmm.
did something wrong," or you know what I mean. Like it makes you lose trust in yourself. And when I look at Mary up until this point, I don't really know what she's doing with her business, but up until this point, I just see someone who doesn't trust herself. Um,
Right.
like she goes through these like when she's talking to Cody, she's never quite, like, she won't say what the issue is. She won't just be direct with him. She's always walking on eggshells with him and with Robyn. And
Hmm.
to me, it's just sad to watch. It's sad to watch it. I also want to like um Edna mode her and just like pull yourself together. Like just come on.
Right.
We're, we're good. You're good. Without him, you don't need this. And if you still want to be in this, you need to get him in check. But you
Right.
you can't make someone do do that. And someone said that they wouldn't want to spend an eternity with Cody, and I wouldn't either.
Right. Well, it's if your relationship is bad here on Earth, imagine what it's going to be like for the rest of eternity. Like, you know, and sometimes heaven ain't heaven.
right.
Like it'd be heaven to some people, hell on Earth for everybody else. So, but I think that there's also the point where you look at like with Mary's situation, like the thing that she actually reminds me of, because you had a point that I had thought of before, that when you watch her with him, she actually reminds me of somebody who was mistreated when they were younger.
Yes.
Like if a person is mistreated when they're younger by, say, a parent, when no matter how old they get, there is a point where if that person comes back into their life and they say something sharp to them, or they talk to them or address them in a certain way, you can almost physically see that person revert to the age that they were when they were first mistreated. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I see when I see Mary. I kind of see her revert, because with everybody else, Mary is like hyper, you know, she's on top of everybody. She'll say whatever comes across her mind. She'll float things across her lips. Like, wow, that was completely inappropriate. But with Cody, she's very careful about how she addresses him, very careful about how she talks to him. And knowing that Robyn is so important to Cody, she's very careful about what she says about Robyn and how she addresses her. And that's just some of the things that I noticed. So like you said, like I can see a situation where, you know, a lot of the fan base, myself included, will sometimes say, like, I wish Mary would just snap the hell out and say what's on her mind, because you can see that she's thinking things.
Yes.
You can see it. Like, you go ahead and say what you want to say. Get it off your chest. Speaking with your chest, girl. Go ahead and do it. You know, but at the same time, she's very reserved and very patient and very careful with how she talks to Cody. You know, and it's almost scary, because it's in a lot of respects, if it was a situation where you could say that she was financially dependent on Cody or something superfluous of that nature, it would be a lot more explainable. But Mary, I think, has more money than Cody and Robyn.
Is the most independent financially out of the three out of the four wives.
Right.
At this point, or at that point when she left, was the main breadwinner other than the show. So yeah, it definitely, it didn't make sense. And then last thing, and I'll let you go. One thing that will forever bother me, but when you and Jenny were reading the book and y'all were talking about when, this is like kind of throwback, but when Cody brought Robyn over for the first time to meet Janelle and Christine. And Mary knew that she was coming. The Janelle and Christine did not. And Cody wanted everything to be perfect, which means that everybody had to clean, everybody had to get everything perfect. And they all had to cook. For him to be like, Cody's just so lucky to be alive. I will never get over that, because if you have me cook and clean for the next not nice name that starts with a B to come in to essentially replace me, sir, neither one of y'all are making it out alive.
Right. Well, that all I'm gonna say is, as in that situation, fellas, if you do that to your wives, do not eat the soup.
Don't eat the soup. And you know what? If you drive her home, you live there.
Right.
Don't come back here.
Yeah, you stuck with it now. Like that's where you live. And if anything, like if you get some orange juice or something that smell like almonds, leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Don't. You're not safe in your home, essentially.
Right. Don't go to sleep. Yeah. Right. Don't go to sleep anymore, because that's why I say you don't stay there no more.
Right.
Because you can't be closing your eyes. You can't be caught slipping.
Right.
Yeah, that is. And like because there's a point too where all of it is just extra. Like the idea that you would like, because even what you said, like with the it's one thing for you to go out and get another woman and bring her home and say, ladies, gentlemen, this is going to be my next sister wife. That's one thing, bad enough, but that's one thing. But like you said, when you come in and be like, look, I want this evening to be perfect. So I want you ladies to get in there and clean these kids up, clean this kitchen up, this house spotless, not because I want you guys to have the best representation of yourself and not because it benefits you in any kind of way. I
Mhm.
just want you to do this so that I look good and it
Mhm.
looks like a household that she would want to join.
Right.
So I'm fitting to work the women around me so
Mhm.
that I can bring in another one. Like that's just
Right.
yeah, this is poor taste.
I guarantee Cody didn't clean out one toilet.
No,
He he didn't pick up a mop or a broom. And then you started it's again, it goes back to like just starting off the relationship with a lie. You bring this woman over, nobody knows why she's coming. Like
right,
she shows up, who is this woman? Oh, this is the lady that I really want to court. Excuse me?
right.
Excuse me? And then it goes to the dress situation where it's just like y'all are like the building blocks of this family is just it's on stilts. This is
Right. On stilts in a muddy situation. Cause it's
yes.
'cause like you said, like the whole idea of break like because at least in my mind, I feel like I sound like rapping. In my mind, like I think that that would be one of the key things that because again, I'm not a polygamist, like I said earlier. Like they say that being a polygamist is hard. I agree with you, but this would be one of the things that would be difficult for me because you have to make sure that everybody is informed and knows what's going on so that they because it's just the simple word of consideration. You
Yeah.
have to take everybody into consideration. And if you're going to bring somebody to the house, I want to know why they're here. What are you doing here, miss? Oh, this is a woman I'm interested in dating. Really? Okay. Well, why am I just hearing about her now? Why did we have this conversation when you first met that person? Why am I shouldn't be finding out
Today,
like I'm
right. Leave the
like I'm
house.
the help. Yeah, that's something you do with the help. Like that's what you do. Your maid is there, like, oh look, this is my girlfriend. Because it doesn't matter whether she knows or not. But if
Mhm.
that's your wife, you treat them like they work for you or they're part of the furniture,
Yes,
and it's just he said it's a bad precedent. It's just a bad start.
exactly.
You
And then
know.
promise. You said consideration, and it's interesting because Cody sees being considerate as others as him not being able to be in charge.
Right.
Like his fundamental flaw as a human being is the fact that just being considerate of other people's of their space, of their feelings, of their emotions, of their time. He just doesn't, he's like, I do what I want to do. And
Mhm.
if you challenge him on that, he's like, oh, well, I'm not in charge then. You're just an independent woman. Like, because I want you to come over to my house before sunset? Okay,
Right.
I guess.
Right. And that's kind of the thing too, is that at the end of the day, you have to when you're talking about engaging in these kind of relationships, at least from my perspective on how you would even approach it, you have to understand the true power dynamics. There's no power in you being able to like the leadership role. I'm going to tell them what to do and I'm not going to take them into consideration because if I take them in consideration for some reason, that's like me giving away some of my power. Nay, that is that's you actually having power. That's you actually having confidence in being able to say, look, I want to hear what your opinion is. If your opinion is so weak and your position is so weak that you can't take contrary or contradictory opinions into account, then you have no business in a leadership role at all, period, full stop.
Mhm.
You know.
And that's why his kids left.
Right. That's why
That
he don't get calls on Christmas.
right. Yep. But yes, that is it for me. My phone's about to die. So
Okay. Well, thank you so much for hitting us up. Let me give you a little parting gift on the way out. I appreciate you calling in and participating. Brittany,
yeah,
not Brittany, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for
I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead, say what you got to say.
thanks for having me. And
No
for
worries.
yes.
Thanks for participating. I appreciate you. There you go. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.
Talk to you later. All right. Awesomeness. Oh, but before I get too far afield, I know it's kind of long in the tooth, but Michelle Woods in the house. What's up, Michelle? How you doing? Haven't talked to you in a while. So glad to see you. Well, $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Don't forget, Robyn also said, and to tell all, she's an expert Cody whisperer. Yeah, because she speaks Codanese. She speaks that. She speaks the language that most of us have forgotten, the secret sauce language. Yeah, I think that that's one of the big things that like she used as a power trip or power trap by being a person who is deciphering the conversations, guiding the conversations, leading the conversations, or talking about what you want to talk about. That gives you immense power because you talk about the things you want to talk about and you don't talk about the things you don't want to talk about. So, like, as a for instance, when when Mary, Cody, and Robyn were sitting on Cowdy Pass talking about the division of that land, all of a sudden that's a conversation Robyn really didn't want to have. So she used her Codanese. Oh, Cody, you're going to say the wrong thing. What Cody really meant to say was, Cody, you're going to say the wrong thing. Stop talking. By saying the wrong thing, that means you're about to give up the ghost and we're going to start losing some land. But thank you so much, Michelle Woods. If you have one calling Michelle, you 100%, I will pull you right up. But thank you so much. Michelle Woods in the house. Awesome. Haven't seen you in a bit, but have you been around? I haven't seen you, but thank you so much. Glad you're back in the house, Michelle. Homegirl Michelle. Stepping up. But let me just see. I'll get a couple more, and then if anybody wants to call in, please do so now, because otherwise we could get ready to wrap this bad boy up. I'm gonna try not to run 5 hours like I usually do. Let's see. Yeah, Miss Indeed said don't get one of them chocolate cakes, them chocolate pies. Yeah, I agree. Narcissist is all about power and control. Yeah, and that's sometimes which is actually a excellent point too, because I hate mornings with the narcissist like power and control. Here's the thing. Narcissists are not narcissistic tendencies for sure, but narcissists are not. I think that people will find tools to aid them in the things that they want to do. So, in the instance of, say, somebody who wants to have a certain level of power and control over folks, you'll find the things that help you do that. So, Cody joining this type of religion certainly assists in that endeavor because it puts him in a situation where he is. Wait, how come that's not working? It puts him in a situation where he can be the person that he wants to be. He can lead the family, and if they have any questions, concerns, or contradictory opinions, he can stifle those based on religious pretext. As the leader of the family, as the priest of the family, as the spiritual person of the family, I'm the person who's supposed to make all the decisions. I don't want to go to Vegas. Well, that's too bad because it's dictated that I am supposed to make these decisions. You're supposed to follow me when I make these decisions. I have the final say. So you join organizations that allow you to express yourself the way you want to express yourself. In a way, the religion itself is complementary to the fact that this is the type of person that he is. And again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier with regard to Cody being who he always said he wasn't. Because the ironic part is that if you look at season 18 and 19, Cody is exactly the person that he argued against in season 1 through, I'd say, 4 or 5. He's exactly the person that he argued against. the person who tries to control and manipulate his family, the father who doesn't have anything to do with his kids or be involved with his children, the person who doesn't look after the well-being and care and maintenance of his wives. He's the exact person that he argued against. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. When you sit there and you make these statements about, you know, when it comes to my kids, I'm willing to do anything. I'm willing to, fight, die, go to prison, whatever the case may be. I'm willing to do anything for my kids. Hey, will you come pick your child up from daycare early because they're not feeling well? Well, I'm a little busy. That begs the question, because when it came time to the talking time, you're talking about how you ready to go to war for these babies. But when it came time for actual practice and for you to actually assert the thing that you said that you were willing to do or were going to do, now all of a sudden it's a different story. Now all of a sudden, I can't clear my calendar. It'd be inconvenient and all that. So when you do that, what you say isn't who you are. What you do is who you are. And so when he said that he's the kind of guy who cares about his wives, cares about his kids, cares about their freedom, their independence, their state of mind, their emotional well-being, he's that type of guy. And that's what he said. And when it's contradictory by the things that he does, then I have to step back and look at the fact that this is what you do. So it doesn't matter what you said, it's what you did, because you were given a chance to be the family protector, because your kids need protection, not just the little ones. All your kids need protection. And again, I know we retread and tread this ground over and over again, but looking back on that surgery with Isabel, I can't be away from my younger two for that long, for 2 weeks. Your older child needed protection too. So when you neglected to protect her, that informs me who you are as a parent. When you don't do the thing that you say that you're about and you say you're going to do, then it doesn't matter what you say. I'm going to post the link one more time. Let me know if you guys want to come up. There's so that old "where we go one, we go all" didn't work out so well, did it? Well, technically, it stopped working because apparently the other people didn't want to play, because he's still in Arizona. It's just everybody else left. He didn't go anywhere. They decided to take their balls and go home. And I'm not mad at them, because that's what and that's what they should have did. That's what they should have did. Mama Squirrel says, behavior is truth. 100. Brian Zebrus. So yeah, I was hurt for Isabel. Yeah, that was a rough piece. Wow. Yes, I have heard opinions that he was physically abusive. It would not surprise me. And that's part of the problem too, is that when he started out and he was Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky, I think that's one of the things. I'll come back to you, Shay. I think that's one of the things that gives people so much pause about Cody's interactions, is that when he first came out, he was Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky. And he tried to portray the perfect family. And this is one of the things actually that Brittany, I think was kind of intonating with in that discussion, was that when they first came out, they tried to present the perfect family. The problem is that in a lot of DV cases, domestic cases, you see situations where abusers try to present their family as the perfect or ideal family, but then behind closed doors, the story is completely different. So the idea that he would hide and try to present himself as this perfect family, and then for you only to see like these loud outbursts, public outbursts where he's like, uncontrollable, knife in the kidney and all that stuff. It begs the question, like, if you feel comfortable enough talking to and addressing these women like this in public, how are you in private? I know from our perspective, we don't see the camera crew and the production team, but they do. And you see these people and you decide in your mind that you're going to go ahead and say some crazy, aggressive stuff to these people, reality show or not. That does give a lot of information, and it doesn't look good. So, was it Shay? When they did that family picture and Cody was holding Saul didn't even flinch when Cody yelled like a fool. That was telling. This is true. Saul was a baby and should have been scared. He was used to it. This is very true. This is I think what Shay is talking about is when they were in front of the in the cul-de-sac and they were standing in front of the houses and he tried to get them all together for a family picture before they went and did the recommitment Brown commitment mission statement ceremony. And Cody wanted to take a picture and he was telling everybody to look down the barrel of the camera. And he did the crazy smile. Saul he didn't flinch. He didn't look scared. He didn't look at his father like, oh my God, what is this? Who are you? And that's one of the things is that kids and pets will tell on your ass every day. All the time. They will tell on you. So if you're a yeller and you're constantly yelling, first and foremost, the problem with being a person who constantly yells is that if you do it so much, it loses all effect because people get used to it. It's just, you're so frustrated, so angry that you're yelling, but because you yell all the time, that's just how you talk and they're used to it. And so when you have a baby who hears you yell all the time, then they get used to it. When you start yelling, they don't look afraid. They don't look startled. They don't look scared because this is just how daddy talks. Daddy just talking again. And that creates a problem. And that does give, like Shay says, that could be an indication as to what goes on behind closed doors, as Cody said, when they're not filming for those 20 hours a week or whatever, 20 hours a year. Because if it was just a matter of it was a one-off and this is the first time you yelled and lost your mind with these kids in front of this baby, then the baby would have a completely different reaction because it would be out of character for you. Kids like consistency. And so if they're used to you behaving a certain way, then there's no reaction. If they're not used to you behaving a certain way, especially if you appear to be scary, forceful, or anything of that aggressive, anything of that nature, kids tend to have a pause. So that's a good point, Shay. Mama Squirrel. The kids have seen Cody dance. Nothing scares them now. They tapped out. I have seen the depths of horror. I have stared into the abyss, and the abyss is blinked. Nothing fears me. Nothing scares me anymore. After watching the Brown family mosh pit and the blonde-headed banshee dancing in the center. Getting his pop on. Yeah, that's awesome. You got some funny. This is Cody only thinks about himself in his pockets. Yeah, right. Because the only thing that he's scared of is poverty. Only thing that scares me is poverty. Then all of a sudden his wives leave and they take their bank accounts with them. Poverty, my old friend. Hello, poverty, my old friend. Just plain Abby, what's up? Yeah, but we are about to wrap this bad boy up. If anybody wants to come on, let me know. Hit a brother up. You can come on. You got a little bit of time. We're about to close this bad boy down. Yeah, but so where we are ultimately. Oh, just my quick thoughts. I like I said earlier, I'm just so you guys know, I'm going to be releasing a lot more videos coming up, especially ramping up for the new season. But I'm also with my other channel. It's family, my take on family law. And that's the channel right there. My take on family law. It's on YouTube. Got a video up. I have to put some more videos up, which I will be doing this week. So I'll be rolling that channel out. I have the show tomorrow with Sarah Howe from Reality Squad, and we'll be talking about Sister Wives season 3, and I forget which episode because I'm an oldie. And I'm losing my old mind. Oh crap. My thing isn't plugged up. But we'll be doing Sister Wives recap, especially getting ready for the season. We'll also be doing Forbidden Love, that next episode. So that should be good. So if you guys are interested in any of those things, please hit a brother up. Let me know. Also, keep an eye out for my family law, my take on family law. We got some good things coming up. I got some pretty good cases that I'll be talking about on there, as well as, again, I'm going to go over these trailers. I had to break it down, y'all, because there's so much in these trailers. I have so many thoughts on some of the things that we've been seeing. As the first caller comment, I don't want to butcher his name, Darley or whatever, Darnell, Daryl, Darley, Darn, Big D. When he called in and he started asking about season 17, yeah, we're gonna be. There's a whole bunch of thoughts I have on season 17 before we get started. I'm hoping that they're respectful. If they do address the whole Garrison incident or situation, that they're respectful in that and they give room and dignity to the family. I hope that TLC does a better job with handling this than they have with other issues that they've done in the past. So I'll be looking forward to that. And again, if they don't, then we're gonna have to ride it. We're gonna have to ride on them. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. Keep an eye out for my videos that I have coming up. I also have Sarah Howe tomorrow. We'll be doing the Sister Lives duo. So we'll be attacking that. But thank you guys for coming in. I appreciate you. That's my take. This has been my take on reality, and I'm out. And I want to give you guys a hold on before I do that. Where's my thing? So unprofessional. Okay, here we go. That's my take. I'm James. This has been my take on reality, and I'm out. Thank you guys so much. A big shout out to Lizzie B for holding me down in the chat boxes with the moderation. Appreciate you. I appreciate everybody keeping it cool in the chat box as well, because you guys help to make the show positive, and I truly appreciate that, because I don't want to have a whole lot of negativity going on in my chat or anywhere else. All right. This is 2024. No negativity in the rear view. All right, guys. Have a great week. See you guys tomorrow, hopefully. See you in my upcoming videos. And if not, hopefully I'll see you next week. Have a good one.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Don't pull right down beside me.